if, for example, we have up to 20,000 hotel rooms, what we should then do is to invite people to come and build at least 3 to 4 international conference centers with 20,000 capacity. And then we make sure that we provide a convivial atmosphere that would allow and encourage 2 international conferences to hold in Owerri every month. Imagine if 2 international conferences can hold in Owerri every month, bringing in 20,000 people, and each of the 20,000 people spend at least 100,000 naira within the period they are there. Our airport will be busted. The hotels will be full. There will be so much investment in our place, but people don't understand it. In fact, Imo State government should build international conference centers that have
Please introduce yourself to my viewers, sir.
My name is Uche Onyeagocha. I'm from Obinze, in Owerri West local government area of Imo State.
Wow. Chief, it has not really been palatable with a lot of things we're hearing happening in Nigeria, Imo State, Southeast and Imo State in particular. I mean, when it has to do with insecurity. Some of us don't want to come home from America here. But we keep wondering, how are you to survive back home? What can you tell us that has to do with how is the government fighting insecurity? And how are people really working in agreement with the government to make sure that we have security control in Imo State?
I will start by saying that the reason why we have insecurity in Imo State and in Nigeria as a whole is because of the failure of government to give back to the people what they owe to the people, which is good governance, constitutional governance, provide food, provide welfare, and the enabling environment for a community to thrive. So that today there is a total lack of confidence in the government, both at the federal, state, and the local government levels. The government is not able to create jobs, so there is a high level of unemployment. There is a total inability of people to provide food for themselves, and a lot of things that actually should come to the people as a welfare advantage of having good government has failed. And the government has not been responsive, has not been responsible, and the government has also not been accountable. So there is a total breakdown of system.
Okay.
Because when you have policemen and the soldiers and the security agencies who carry guns and are not adequately remunerated by way of salary, they become a threat to society.
And that's the truth.
When you have a civil servant, you pay less than 30,000 naira, and the 30,000 naira cannot feed him and his family for more than a day. He becomes a threat to the ministry where he is working, because he can't go to office hungry and come back hungry, and then you make him a revenue officer. You have tempted him to steal.
Holding you on what you're saying. So what I'm saying, they are well paid, but yet they don't do what they need for. They don't help the people. They don't. Based on what you said, when you are low paid, underpaid, you become a threat to the system. Our politicians are well paid. That's why politicking is capital intensive. Yet they are a threat to the system. What can you say?
Well, you have to go back to the root cause. Why is it so that the politicians in power are well paid and the citizens cannot feed? The reason is that there are no elections going on in Nigeria.
Then just
That was no election. It was brigandage.
Oh.
People steal votes and write results and declare themselves winners. So once that happens, they will not be responsible or accountable to the citizenry. But if you are elected as a result of votes cast and counted, You know, you cannot go there and be earning fat salaries and not be accountable to the people and then return again. But the reason why these politicians can afford to do this is because they won their primary through fraud, won the main election through fraud. When they were taken to court, they obtained judgment through fraud. So at the end of the day, they have no reason to be accountable to the electorate.
Okay,
so why would they bother to create jobs for you?
Are you trying to say that, in Imo State,
the problem starts from the elections?
Okay.
And we must cure that problem by focusing on how to have a free and fair, credible election. And I've suggested the way forward. I have told people we must stop pretending that INEC is independent. INEC is not independent by any measure.
INEC is
so
not independent.
What we should do is to have an INEC where we can say that we are not looking at so-called independent INEC per se, but we want to curb that problem why INEC is not able to organize free and fair election. And the simple way to do it, we should have an INEC where it will be comprised of members of PDP, members of APC, members of APGA, members of Labour Party, and all the political parties contesting the election. They should have representatives in INEC, both at the federal level,
not being appointed by
at the state level, because they will always say that the president should appoint. The president will, of course, appoint people from his area, from his political party. So let every political party at every stage of INEC contribute, but there has to be political parties that have won election or have representation, maybe starting from the State House of Assembly to the National Assembly, so that it doesn't become unwieldy. Once the political parties are members of INEC, that will be the end of election rigging. And so that INEC doesn't have to come with this bogus name of independent. Let it be members of political parties representing it. That will be the end of election rigging. And every party has a right to withdraw their member who is representing him in INEC if at any point they find that he has been bought over. They bring another person to represent their interest.
Viewers, as you can see, Chief is making a very wonderful point that if we have all parties being represented in the system of INEC,
that will be the end of election rigging and manipulation in Nigeria.
That's your view. If you think he's making a point, want to hear it from your comment section. Chief, let's go for another question. I am the pioneer and founder of a group called Igbo Rolo, and we are measuring and pushing for the development of our people. Now, in your own view, do you think it is the duty of the government to develop this Alibo or this area, or is it the duty of individual? If it is individual, are they doing the biddings? If it is the government, what is your assessment about how government has produced or brought development in their own jurisdiction?
Let me make it clear. In Igbo land, development has always come from both the government, the community, and the individual. That has always been like that. We have been the champions of self-help efforts. It is only in Igbo land that you have communities that contributed money to put their electricity, to put water, to fix their roads, to build health center, to build a secondary school, to build a post office. But over time, the lousiness that has become part of Nigeria has crept into this our self-help processes, and we are almost trying to fall back like the rest of Nigeria. All we need to do is to reignite it. And I am saying to reignite this self-development effort, which has been part and parcel of our culture. Every other person, the major reason why we go home for Christmas is to be able to impact in our community, to show that we have been successful as individuals and as members of a community. We now want to come back and bring support. Even our sisters, most of them come home and they give support to a lot of the women groups. They give them small monies for cooperative marketing. They give them food items for welfare. And the men contribute money for building of different community development projects. So we need to reignite it. But what there is to be done is that we must understand very clearly who are Njibo, what are our areas of strength. I don't want us to walk as if we are confused. We are not confused. We have 3 or 4 areas where the best of our capacity comes from, and that is what we should take advantage of to develop our league.
Mention them.
And one of them is that we have a voracious appetite for education more than any other part of Nigeria. Working on that alone, we can turn our place around. 2, we have a voracious appetite for commerce. We have a voracious appetite for property development. We have a voracious appetite for entrepreneurship. So how do we start the education bit? Since the inception of JAM, Imo State has the highest number of children who have written JAM every year till today. The number of people who are rejected by JAM in IMSO alone for this last year exam is over 100,000. So Imo State has the capacity to host, as at today, a minimum of 10 universities, 10 polytechnics, 10 colleges of education, 10 colleges of nursing. We will fill it up. There are hardly any universities that have capacity to admit new universities that can admit up to 5,000 students. So if you start with 10 universities and they admitted 5,000, which is heavy, that means for this 1 year they can only admit 50,000. And I've just told you that Imo State University rejected over 100,000 students. That does not count into how many that were rejected by Futo or Federal Polytechnic in Nekede, or rejected by Imo State College Polytechnic, Omago. So the point I am making is that we must create enough institutions, and this is where we invite the private sector. We need people to rush down into Imo State today and start building universities.
But I thought
if you build 10, I'm not talking about state.
Okay.
I'm talking about individuals.
Okay.
Now, the number of people who write JAMB in Ogun State is not up to the number of people who write JAMB in Imo. But Ogun State has almost 21 universities. The number of people who write JAMB in Osun State or Ekiti State or Lagos is not up to the people who write JAMB in Imo State. Yet, Osun State has over 10 universities. Today, there are only about 3 private universities in Imo State. Hezekiah University in Umuchi, Nkwere, Claretian University, and only 2. So what is happening in Imo State with all our children schooling outside Imo State is causing capital flight. Because wherever our children are schooling, be it in Osun, in Ogun, in Nasarawa, in Ekiti, all over Nigeria, they are paying school fees, huge sums of money, which is helping to create jobs in those areas. And at the end of the day, those places are developing. So can you imagine if we're able to have up to 20 universities? And these are universities should be available for others to come and study in. But even those of you here, if you come to United States, for example, you find out that there is the number of nurses needed to service the nursing industry in America is not available in UK, in US. So all our sons and daughters who have trained as nurse educators should come with the system to establish a nursing school in Imo State. And then you set up a nursing school for the purpose of export. So you train them with American standard or with European standard and get them to write the American Nursing Board exams. If they pass the nursing board exams, they will get job automatically. And we would have had a large army of people being employed here in that direction. So that is as it affects our appetite, voracious appetite for education. Why do I say so? 90% of the development you see in Nekede, Ihiagwa, Eziobodo, Obinze, Mbrichi, and Omago is as a result of the presence of Federal Polytechnic, Nekede, Federal University of Technology, Owerri, and then College of Polytechnic, Omago. Yeah. So imagine the transformation that has happened in these 6 communities I've mentioned. If therefore you have up to 20 universities and the 10 polytechnics, College of Education, and nurses scattered all over Imo State, the whole place is transformed.
An average person will ask you, those who school, where are they working?
Thank you very much. People have always asked me that question. that those who schooled, where are they working? That should not be their primary concern. What we need to do, give the people education first. And then when you give them education, there is what is called transformative education. That is education for self-help and self-employment. Most of what you are looking at is people graduating from school and going to work in the government. There is a limit to how many people the government can employ. I am talking about education that will make you self-dependent and be able to employ yourself and create opportunities.
Okay, that's your own thought, and you are entitled to it. Final question I have for you today, sir. The final question I have for you: do you think the government is doing very well in terms of bringing development to Alibo and Imo State in particular?
Well, the government can only do well to the extent of the level of or quality of election that brought the government official into power. If you are reading, why would you perform well? If you stole mandate, why would you perform?
So you said
if you buy your votes,
government stole mandate?
If you steal votes and you write results and you use guns to wale results and you buy people over, why would you perform? Once you get there, you start recouping the monies you have spent in all of this. I have always tried to explain to our people that where to start to get it right is to ensure that our elections are free and fair. In which case, the people who are in power must be accountable, or else they can be voted out. But if you know you can rig your way in the second time and the third time, then you just do whatever you like. And I believe that is what is happening. I was secretary to government of Imo State, and after we were removed by the Supreme Court, the government one day woke up and say, "Oh, that they know those who are causing insecurity in Imo State. Uche Onyeagocha is part of them. Emeki Hedioha is part of them. Irona was part of them." Well, at that time they were making this announcement. They got people to carry placards and they were marching on the streets in Owerri. Arrest Uche Onyeagocha, prosecute Uche Onyeagocha, detain Uche Onyeagocha. By this time, Emeka Ihedioha was already living in Abuja and was actually in Abuja. Irona was in Abuja. I was in Obize. I was coming out every day and walking around. I said, why do you need to carry placards to say I should be arrested when I'm moving around without security? You can see the dubiousness of the act. You understand? Because if you're sincere, you don't have to bother.
So those people were sponsored to do that.
If they were not sponsored, how come they have not arrested me since that day? How come they have not prosecuted me? Because when they attacked the prison and freed their prisoners, the government announced, the state governor announced that they know those who did it. Since that time till today, they have not arrested those who did it. The Minister for Interior at that time, who was my very good friend, who is my Ralph Aregbesola, said that they know those who did it. Nigerian government is always known for lying and talking rubbish. You know those who did it and you still would arrest them till today. So what our position has been is that to move a state forward, we must bring honesty, transparency into government. We shouldn't just say anything or make bogus accusations however we care. Whatever we
Thank you very much, Chief. But I want to let you go. But I have something that have been disturbing us. We are talking about development. People are complaining that some of you politicians and those who make money, they only know how to build hotel that is costing a lot of promiscuous life among our young ones. That's why we have a lot of schools. They tell you they are going to school, but they're not being taken to this hotel you guys build. What can you say about the proliferation of hotels?
First, I will say that most of the hotels are not owned by politicians. They are owned by business.
When I say politicians, they are individual politics. Like I know you must agree, they are owned by individuals, but some of them are politics. They make the money from politics.
I am still insisting that most of the hotels in the Imo State, where in particular, are owned by businessmen from all over Imo land, who have seen in Owerri a very good opportunity to make money from hotel business. Now, There are people who have always held the view that there are too many hotels
Yes,
in Owerri.
including myself.
I do not agree with that view. I am actually saying that there are not enough hotels in Owerri.
In 2 minutes, tell me why you say
And
so.
those who want to invest in hotel business in Owerri should still keep coming. As of today, I want to tell you that we have taken the census and we do not have up to 12,000 hotel rooms in almost in Owerri, which means Owerri can't even host a conference of 15 to 20,000 people because any conference will always yield money. But now let me tell you why I argue that those who want to build hotels, you can. People have always admired and loved Owerri as a place you can come and relax. But why I'm saying that we want more hotels is because it is a source of generating money for the development of Imo State.
Yeah.
Because if, for example, we have up to 20,000 hotel rooms, what we should then do is to invite people to come and build at least 3 to 4 international conference centers with 20,000 capacity. And then we make sure that we provide a convivial atmosphere that would allow and encourage 2 international conferences to hold in Owerri every month. Imagine if 2 international conferences can hold in Owerri every month, bringing in 20,000 people, and each of the 20,000 people spend at least 100,000 naira within the period they are there. Our airport will be busting. The hotels will be full. There will be so much investment in our place, but people don't understand it. In fact, Imo State government should build international conference centers that have capacity.
Build one, but I don't know the capacity.
Well, the one he built was about 10,000 capacity, but it wasn't properly done, and that has been taken down now. So, if you have a conference center of 20,000 capacity, then we can invite Deeper Life to come and have their conference in Owerri in the beginning of January. Christ Embassy should come and do in the last month of January. Nigerian Bar Association, Nigerian Medical Association, no more should pass. In fact, we should give them the international conferences free so that more people will come and then more money will be spent in Imo State. It will create massive job and opportunities. So, and people must understand these basic things. And I also think that, like people have been encouraging, our people love property development. Most of our brothers in diaspora would want to have properties that they can say authentically belong to them. And they have a mortgage system in the US and in Europe. There is nothing stopping us from saying this landed area, we have acquired it the size of say 20 hectares. And look at the certificate of occupancy. We have built the basic infrastructure, roads, space for school, relaxation, this and that inside it. And that anybody who wants to acquire a property in that area can pay this amount. And if you structure the payment system in such a way that they can pay like they pay here in the US, virtually all of them will be glad and happy to have a property in that kind of area.
You are making a very
And it is simple, it's not rocket science.
It's not simple. Why it's not simple? Nigeria don't have a database. But because of time, we're going to leave interview for another day. If we want to put Nigeria don't have a database. If you give somebody, they will just, if not that property is something that is statutory, something that is not cannot run away with. Do it in a car. They will take your car and run away. And no database to trace the person.
Listen, nobody come into the country and have people monitoring it. It's not a big deal. It's not rocket science. Even now, the Google mapping of Imo State needs to be much more comprehensively done. Can go into that business without proper registration processes. And the process of acquisition of this property must be properly done. And then you can follow the development of your property from time to time as you come. And it is people who should show interest in it.
Yeah.
Like you are now based in California and you run in the media house, you should be able to link up with some people to coordinate your programs some in Olu zone, some in Okigwe zone, and some in Owerri zone, so that with ease you can get information and then people can send it back to you through WhatsApp so that you will relay what is happening
Definitely.
and people can see practical issues.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. And I'm happy you've really done justice to my question. I'll still want to have you again through Zoom and through some other bit because I'll be liking us to address our people in Igbo language. So when I call on you on that day, I will give you the like I know you will. Okay. Nice having you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you so much.